Sir, do you understand all the pending charges and the maximum possible penalties involved? And it's my understanding that you want to resolve both cases today. Is that correct?
Brand new footage just surfaced, and it's not your average courtroom shot. This is a clip that tore apart 6 years of so-called brotherhood in an instant. It's the moment YNW Bortlen sat just inches from YNW Melly and quietly agreed to a deal that could seal Melly's fate forever. One move, one signature, and suddenly whispers turned into shouts. The loyalty inside the YNW circle was gone. From the outside, it looked almost surreal. Two brothers in arms who once built their names side by side.
As to all the charges that you're facing, the maximum possible penalties are as follows. It's life in Florida State Prison, followed by 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 75 years in Florida State Prison. Do you understand the charges and the maximum possible penalties involved? And in exchange for all of that, the state is offering that I would adjudicate you guilty and sentence you to the bottom of your sentencing guidelines. But if you don't accept it, and one of these trials doesn't go your way, and you end up with life in Florida State Prison, which is a mandatory.
Now sitting in the same room, but on opposite sides of destiny, Bortlen's decision didn't just raise eyebrows. It sent shockwaves through the streets. Fans and insiders alike started asking the same question. Was this the final betrayal that pushes Melly straight toward death row? The prosecutors finally got what they've been chasing all along, Bortlen's cooperation, and the whispers of what he agreed to reveal might just be the final nail in Melly's coffin. The footage dropped September 9th, 2025, and the impact was instant. It ripped through Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and every gossip blog in sight, racking up hundreds of thousands of views within hours. But make no mistake, this wasn't just another day in court. This was a cultural earthquake. Both Melly and Bortlen appear in the clip, drained and defeated, dressed in those red Broward County jumpsuits. The silence in that courtroom spoke louder than any words could. For the first time, fans saw with their own eyes what betrayal looks like when loyalty shatters in real time. Bortlen, once branded Melly's brother for life, chose survival, and with one decision, he split the hood right down the middle. Now here's reality. Facing 5 life sentences plus an extra 75 years, Bortlen didn't just blink, he folded. And in doing so, he ignited one of the ugliest debates hip-hop has ever seen. Loyalty versus betrayal. Survival versus the code. What does it really mean to keep it 100 when your freedom is on the line? That's the question tearing through the culture right now. But this story isn't new. It traces back more than 7 years to October 26, 2018. That night, Christopher, YNW Juvie, Thomas Jr., and Anthony, YNW Sack Chaser, Williams were murdered inside an SUV in Miramar, Florida. At first, it looked like just another drive-by, enemies sliding through and catching the crew slipping. But once forensics came back, the entire narrative collapsed in an instant. Ballistics, trajectories, and GPS data all pointed one way. Those bullets didn't come from outside. They came from inside the vehicle. And that's when prosecutors built their chilling story. They painted Melly as a triggerman, jealousy, money issues, ego, all boiling over. They claimed he executed his own brothers in cold blood, while Bortlen staged the scene to look like an outside hit. The state's case was brutal. Forensic experts testified that the bullet angles made an outside shooter impossible. Cell phone records showed movements that lined up perfectly with the inside job theory. And then came the alleged Instagram DMs, where prosecutors say Melly typed out his own confession, writing, "Shoo, I did that," about his fallen friends. Those digital footprints became the smoking gun. When the footage of Bortlen's plea went viral, it captured more than paperwork ever could. It was the exact second one co-defendant decided he wasn't dying in prison for anybody, not even his day one. The betrayal cut through the screen like a blade. Across the table, Melly sat stone-faced, while Bortlen calmly nodded along as the plea deal got read. That silence screamed louder than any testimony. The plea itself was wild. At first, the state offered 16 years, but after quiet backroom talks, it was cut to just 10. 10 years for a man they painted as a wheelman in a double homicide? To the streets, that looked less like justice and more like a trade. Freedom in exchange for turning on the brother he once built a movement with. A deal that flipped his entire destiny. Think about it. Bortlen had been locked since 2019, already serving 6 years. With the deal, he could be out in just 4 more, then do 6 on paper. That's going from 5 life sentences plus 75 years to touching the streets again before 40. To some, it's survival. To others, it's the coldest flip in rap history. And everyone knows a deal this sweet always comes with a catch. That catch is a proffer. After sentencing, Bortlen has to sit down with prosecutors and spill everything he knows. Every detail about Juvie and Sack Chaser's deaths, every cover-up, every piece of inside info. His lawyer tried to play word games, saying he wouldn't testify at Melly's trial. But the streets know better. You don't walk away from forever in prison unless you're giving up something major. And the truth is, Bortlen doesn't even need to take the stand. Whatever he says behind closed doors could still wreck Melly's defense. Prosecutors can use it to cross-check evidence, dig up new witnesses, or find proof they didn't even know existed before. That's why this deal is being called a chess move, a last-minute flip that changed the entire case hours before his own trial was set to start. What makes it even colder is the bond these two once had. This wasn't just music. They were supposed to be family, kids from the same dirt, building YNW on loyalty, struggle, and brotherhood. To see that collapse into betrayal on camera hit harder than any testimony ever could. And now, the hip-hop world is split down the middle. Was Bortlen wrong, or did he just do what he had to do? Some people see Bortlen's decision as survival. Others call it the ultimate betrayal, breaking the unwritten law of loyalty that's supposed to define how real ones move when the walls close in. And the debate only grew louder once fans started comparing his deal to other high-profile rap cases where cooperation came into play. The streets don't forget. When someone breaks the code, forgiveness almost never comes. The comparisons came fast. Social media branded Bortlen's plea as another Ghana moment, tying it to the YSL case that already split the rap world. Just like Ghana, Bortlen is now stamped with a permanent scarlet letter. Once the streets call you a rat, that stigma follows forever. Hip-hop blogs, YouTube commentators, and even legal experts jumped in, some defending survival, others swearing he'll never be respected again. But beyond the hashtags and internet debates, the real danger lies in what this means for Melly's future. His retrial was supposed to start September 10th, 2025, but endless appeals, motions, and evidence disputes pushed it back all the way to January 2027. That's over 8 years behind bars without a final conviction. And here's the nightmare scenario. Whatever Bortlen reveals in that proffer session could flip Melly's case upside down. Even if Bortlen never testifies in open court, prosecutors can still weaponize his words, lining up evidence, finding new angles, even recruiting fresh witnesses who stayed quiet before. With his day one feeding the state crucial info, Melly's defense could crumble in ways nobody saw coming. This wasn't just a legal strategy. It might be the single move that decides whether Melly walks free or dies behind bars. If Bortlen confirms that Melly pulled the trigger, and worse, lays out how they staged a cover-up, the state's case transforms overnight, from shaky speculation to a deadly narrative. And remember, Melly's first trial in 2023 ended in a mistrial, with jurors split 9-3 in favor of acquittal. That gave his camp hope. But now, Bortlen's words could be the missing puzzle piece prosecutors have begged for. The state always leaned on technicals. Ballistics proving shots came from inside the SUV, GPS data, and the shady Instagram DMs where Melly allegedly typed, "Shoo, I did that." What they lacked was motive. Why would Melly kill 2 of his closest friends? The defense hammered that hole, insisting there was no beef, no receipts, just a made-up story. And that's why Bortlen's cooperation is so dangerous. It is proffer fills in those blanks. Conversations nobody else heard, motives nobody else could confirm. The case instantly looks bulletproof. On the flip side, if his story doesn't line up or even backs Melly's innocence, it could backfire and strengthen the defense. That's the gamble. But legal experts warn, the damage might not be as explosive as fans think. Because Bortlen's deal was signed after sentencing, that means his leverage is gone. With 10 years locked in, prosecutors can't offer more favors. He could play it safe, stay vague, or hit the classic, I don't remember, routine without facing new consequences. Some even question whether his info will make it into court at all. Melly's lawyers are already preparing to challenge the proffer, calling it coerced, unreliable, and protected by immunity. They'll fight to keep it out the SO while the internet screams betrayal. The legal reality could be murkier. But zoom out, and this case is bigger than just Melly versus Bortlen. It's a mirror exposing cracks in both hip-hop and the justice system. Endless delays, prosecutors targeting rappers, social media trials running alongside the real one. All of it shows how messy the system looks when celebrity and the streets collide. For Melly, though, the storm only grows darker. He's already spent over 6 years locked in a cage waiting for judgment. Now, with 2 first-degree murder charges still hanging and prosecutors pushing the death penalty, the stakes are life or death. Thanks to Florida's 2023 law change, they only need 8 out of 12 jurors to vote death. That lowers the bar and raises the danger to its peak. If Bortlen's words sway just a handful of jurors, Melly could face execution instead of acquittal. And meanwhile, he keeps battling conditions behind bars. In late 2024, he sued Broward County Jail, accusing officials of cruel punishment. 23-hour isolation, denied medical care, even neglect. The lawsuit's still alive, but leaks suggest it's worse. Reports claim Melly's been jumped multiple times, a target because of his fame. Locked this long with charges is heavy. Survival isn't about music anymore. It's about watching your back every single day, knowing one wrong move could be deadly. And then there's a viral clip, the plea moment that turned tragedy into content. It forces the question, how did justice become entertainment? How did 2 men's lives on a line get reduced to TikTok edits and YouTube reactions? That's the power of the footage. The way it spread proves how blurred the lines are now between culture and courtroom. Looking ahead, Melly's retrial isn't until January 2027. Another year and a half of limbo. Bortlen will likely serve the rest of his time quietly. But the families of Juvie and Sack Chaser, who stayed mostly silent, continue fighting. They've already filed civil suits, demanding justice and financial accountability. At its core, the tragedy hits deeper than headlines. 2 young men are gone forever. 2 others, once their brothers, watch their lives collapse in real time. Entire families shattered. And that viral clip from September 9th, 2025, that wasn't just content. It was a defining moment of the downfall, either the beginning of long-awaited justice or loyalty collapsing under the weight of survival. Because in the streets, your word is everything. Once that bond breaks, there's no rewind. Whether Bortlen made the smartest move of his life or sold his soul for freedom will be debated for years. And as Melly's fate hangs in limbo, one thing is undeniable. This case has already cemented itself as one of the darkest tragedies in hip-hop history. Brotherhood, betrayal, and the brutal price of survival.